The moment I stepped into her family's dining room, every pair of eyes froze on me. The air turned heavy, like someone had sucked the oxygen right out of the room. Forks stopped midair, whispers died instantly, and even the chandelier above seemed to tremble. I had worn the dress. The same dress she had carefully wrapped in a velvet box and gifted me for my birthday only days before. She had smiled when I opened it, hugged me tight, whispered that I deserved something beautiful. I didn't think much of it then. But now, standing at that table, under the blazing light, with her family staring at me as if I had just committed the deadliest sin, I realized the gift wasn't innocent. It was a trap. And as I turned to look at her face, her lips curled into the faintest smirk. One her family couldn't see, but one that was meant only for me. My blood ran cold. Because in that moment, I knew she wanted me destroyed. But why? And what secret was buried in this dress that had her entire family glaring at me like I was some criminal? Before I could breathe, her father slammed his hand on the table, his voice cutting the silence like a blade. "How dare you wear that dress here?" The sound echoed through my bones. My hands trembled. My knees almost buckled. And that was the exact second I realized this night wasn't about dinner. It was about revenge. But whose? Hers or mine? If you're watching this right now, I need you to pause for a moment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story, because what I'm about to tell you is not just about a dress. It's about betrayal, lies, and revenge so sharp it could cut through blood itself. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. My name is Rachel Miller. I was 29 years old when this story began, and I thought I had everything in life. Well, almost everything. My parents, David and Caroline, raised me in a quiet suburb of New Jersey. My dad was a retired police officer, stern but fair. My mom was the kind of woman who could turn even the darkest moment into hope. I was their only child, and because of that, they poured every bit of themselves into me. Life wasn't always easy. Dad's health was failing, and Mom worked double shifts to make ends meet. But we were close. Too close, maybe. Because when outsiders entered my life, it always felt like they were being weighed, measured, tested by my family, even if silently. That's how it was when I met Claire. Claire Thomas. A woman who, at first glance, seemed like the sister I never had. We met at work, two women in a crowded office of men, finding each other like two lonely birds perched on the same wire. She was smart, stylish, always one step ahead. She made me laugh when I wanted to cry, and cry when I least expected it. We became inseparable: lunch breaks, late-night calls, weekend plans. I trusted her with secrets I hadn't told my own mother. But here's what I didn't know. Every single step I took closer to Claire was a step into her web. At first, the signs were small. A missing bracelet from my drawer. A rumor about me at work that no one could trace. A strange coldness from colleagues I once laughed with. But whenever I looked at Claire, she was there with her wide, innocent eyes, swearing she had my back. And I believed her. Until my birthday. That night, she arrived at my apartment with the velvet box. She had even baked me a cake, something she said she hadn't done in years. We laughed. We toasted with wine. We promised each other that no matter what, we'd always be there for each other. Then she handed me the gift. When I pulled the lid off the box, my breath caught. It was the most stunning dress I'd ever seen. Deep sapphire blue, velvet soft, the kind of fabric that shimmered when it caught the light. I hugged her, tears in my eyes. I thought it was the most selfless, thoughtful gift a friend could give. But Claire doesn't give gifts. She plants weapons. Because 3 nights later, she invited me to her family's dinner party. She insisted I wear the dress, saying it would be perfect. My family would adore you in it. I didn't hesitate. Why would I? I thought she loved me like a sister. But when I walked into that dining room, I saw the truth in every eye fixed on me. Horror, disgust, anger. It was as if I had walked in naked. And then her father's voice thundered. "That dress does not belong to you." The words sliced into me. My pulse raced. My hands clutched the fabric. I didn't understand. I didn't know how a simple birthday gift could bring this kind of fury. I looked at Claire, desperate for help, but all I saw was that tiny smirk, a flicker of satisfaction, as if she had been waiting for this exact moment.
My throat went dry.
My heart pounded. I opened my mouth to speak, but her mother suddenly stood, her face pale as though she'd seen a ghost. She pointed a shaking finger at me and whispered one word: thief. And in that second, the room erupted. Chairs screeched, voices rose, plates crashed against the floor. Her brother lunged forward, fists clenched, while her father's face turned red with rage. And Claire, she just sat there, calm as ice, her eyes locked on mine, enjoying every second of my humiliation. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I wanted to scream, but no sound left my lips. And just when I thought I couldn't take another breath in that suffocating room, her father grabbed the nearest wine bottle, lifted it high above the table, and charged straight at me. The bottle glistened under the chandelier light, its dark red contents sloshing violently as her father charged at me. My breath caught in my throat. The sound of his shoes pounding against the floor echoed like a war drum in my head. I froze. My body betrayed me. My legs felt like cement. All I could do was watch the heavy glass bottle swing down toward me with the force of a hammer. At the very last second, Claire's mother screamed, "David, stop!" Her hand shot out, grabbing his arm before the bottle could shatter against my skull. The force jerked him back, and the wine spilled across the floor in a dark crimson wave that looked disturbingly like blood. For a moment, silence hung again. My chest heaved. My eyes darted wildly between the faces around me. Claire's brother, Eric, stood ready to fight, veins bulging in his neck. Her mother trembled, clutching her husband's arm. And Claire, she just leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, lips curled into that devilish smirk. I finally managed to whisper, "Well, what's going on? Why are you doing this?" Claire tilted her head, her eyes gleaming. "Oh, Rachel," she said softly, almost tenderly. "You really don't know, do you?" Her words twisted like a knife. Her father ripped his arm free from his wife's grip, his chest heaving. His eyes burned into me. "That dress," he spat, pointing a trembling finger at me, "belonged to my daughter. My real daughter." The room tilted. My ears buzzed. I blinked hard, not sure I'd heard right. "Your daughter?" I whispered. Claire leaned forward, her gaze never leaving mine. "Tell me, Rachel, did you really think I picked that dress just for you?" She laughed low, cruel.
No.
"That dress was never meant for you. It was hers. The one whose memory they worship every single day. The one who," she paused, her smile widening, "died wearing it." The air was sucked from my lungs. I stumbled back, my hand clutching the wall for balance. My mind raced. Dead? A dead daughter? I looked down at the fabric clinging to my body, at the sapphire blue shimmer that only moments ago had felt like beauty, but now felt like a shroud. I felt sick. Her mother began to sob quietly, her hands covering her face. Eric muttered curses under his breath, pacing like a caged animal. Her father turned away, fists clenched, trying to control the storm brewing inside him. And Claire just sat there, watching me drown in their grief and rage, her eyes drinking in my every tremor. I ripped at the dress, my hands shaking, trying to tear it off my body. "I didn't know," I cried. "I swear I didn't know. Claire gave it to me. She said it was a gift." Her father spun around, his face twisted with fury. "You expect me to believe that?" His voice cracked like thunder. "You walk in here, flaunting the very thing we buried our child in, and you want us to believe it's just some gift." Buried. The words slammed into me like a bullet. My knees buckled. The room spun. I could barely see through the blur of tears. I turned to Claire, desperate.
Why?
"Why would you do this to me?" She smiled, leaning closer across the table, her voice barely a whisper but sharp enough to slice through my heart. "Because you took something from me, Rachel. And now, I'm taking everything from you." I opened my mouth to speak, but before a word could escape, the front door burst open. 2 police officers stormed in, their guns drawn, shouting commands. "Hands up! Everyone! Hands where we can see them!" The room exploded into chaos. Chairs toppled. Glass shattered. Claire's mother screamed. Her father cursed. Eric tried to rush forward, but was slammed against the wall. And me? I stood frozen, my arms trembling above my head, the cursed dress clinging to me like a second skin. One of the officers locked eyes with me, his expression filled with disgust. Then he shouted to his partner, words that made my heart stop beating. "That's her. That's the woman we've been looking for. Arrest her now." My mouth went dry. The officer's words echoed in my ears like gunfire. "That's her. That's the woman we've been looking for." I stumbled back, shaking my head violently. No, this has to be a mistake. I didn't do anything. Before I could move another inch, one of the officers lunged forward, twisting my arms behind my back. The cold steel of handcuffs bit into my wrists. The sound of metal locking shut was like a death sentence. Claire's family watched with wide, gleeful eyes, except for her mother, who cried silently into her hands. Claire herself stood, her smirk blooming into a triumphant smile. She didn't need to say a word. Her face said it all. This is exactly what I wanted. I fought against the officer's grip, my voice cracking with desperation. "Please. You don't understand. I was set up. I swear I don't even know what this is about." The officer shoved me forward, his voice flat and cold. "Rachel Miller, you are under arrest for the murder of Jessica Thomas." The room spun. My knees nearly gave way. Murder? Jessica Thomas. The name rang in my ears. And then it hit me. Jessica. Claire's sister. The one whose dress I was wearing. "No!" I screamed, my voice breaking. "I never even met Jessica. I didn't kill her. I didn't even know about her until tonight." The officer yanked me toward the door, ignoring my pleas. My heart slammed against my ribs like a trapped bird. My vision blurred with tears. I glanced back one last time. Claire stood there, hands folded neatly in front of her, watching me with eyes that sparkled like a predator satisfied with its kill. She tilted her head slightly, as if to say, "Checkmate." The police dragged me out into the night. The cold air slapped my face, but it didn't wake me from the nightmare. Neighbors stood on their lawns, whispering, pointing, their faces painted with judgment. Camera flashes went off, phones capturing my humiliation, my downfall, my supposed crime. I begged, my voice cracking, "Please, just listen. I didn't do this." But the officers shoved me into the back of the squad car, slammed the door, and with a roar of the engine, my life was driven away into darkness. The ride to the station was a blur. I sat there in the back seat, staring at my reflection in the window, the cursed dress clinging to me like a brand of shame. I replayed every moment with Claire, her kindness, her laughter, her loyalty, and suddenly, it all looked different. Every smile was a mask. Every hug was a noose tightening around my neck. By the time we arrived at the station, I felt hollow. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me as I was dragged inside, fingerprinted, photographed, stripped of whatever dignity I had left. When they shoved me into a cold, gray cell, the sound of the iron bars slamming shut was like the ceiling of a coffin. I sat on the hard bench, tears streaking down my cheeks, whispering to myself, "Why me? What did I ever do to deserve this?" Hours passed, maybe days. I couldn't tell. Every tick of the clock was torture. And then, finally, I was summoned to a small, sterile room. Across the table sat a detective. Middle-aged, graying hair, eyes sharp as knives. He studied me for a long moment before speaking. "You know why you're here, Rachel?" I shook my head violently.
No.
"I swear I don't. I didn't kill anyone. Claire set me up." His eyes narrowed at the mention of her name. "Claire? Interesting." I leaned forward, desperate. She gave me the dress. She invited me to dinner. She knew exactly what would happen. "You have to believe me. She's behind all of this." The detective scribbled something in his notebook, then looked up. Rachel. Jessica Thomas was found dead 2 years ago. She was wearing that exact dress when her body was discovered. My stomach dropped. 2 years? My breath came in shallow gasps. The detective leaned closer, his voice low and sharp. Her body disappeared from the morgue the very night you moved into this town. And now, 2 years later, here you are, wearing her dress. At her family's dinner table. No, my voice cracked. That's impossible. I didn't even know her. I wasn't anywhere near this family until I met Claire last year. The detective slammed his hand on the table, making me flinch. Then tell me, Rachel, why did we find your fingerprints on Jessica's grave? My blood turned to ice. My mouth fell open, but no words came out. I shook my head in disbelief. My fingerprints? I whispered. The detective stared at me, unblinking. Rachel Miller, unless you start telling the truth, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Before I could gather a single thought, the door burst open. Another officer rushed in, his face pale, sweat dripping down his temples. He leaned in and whispered something into the detective's ear. The detective's eyes widened, then darted to me. His face turned grim. Slowly, he stood and leaned over the table, his voice a deadly whisper. They just found another body, Rachel. And guess what? He paused, letting the words sink in. She was wearing the same dress you have on right now. The words didn't make sense at first. My brain refused to process them. Another body. Same dress. I shook my head violently. No, that's impossible. You're lying. Someone is framing me. The detective's gaze hardened. This isn't a joke, Rachel. Another woman has been found dead tonight. In your town. And she was wearing that exact same dress. He pointed at me, his finger trembling slightly, as if he wasn't sure if he was staring at a criminal or a curse. My chest tightened. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't me, I whispered. I swear it wasn't me. You have to believe me. But the detective only leaned closer, his voice a sharp whisper. Then explain how 2 women are dead, both wearing this dress, and you're the only link. I felt the room closing in, the walls pressing against me. My thoughts spun out of control. Claire's smirk, her voice, her cruel eyes, all of it came rushing back. This wasn't random. This was her game. She wanted me destroyed. The detective pushed back his chair suddenly and stood. Stay put. We'll talk when you're ready to tell the truth. He stormed out, leaving me alone in the cold interrogation room, the buzzing light above humming like a cruel reminder of my reality. I buried my face in my cuffed hands and sobbed. Every breath hurt. Every thought screamed one truth. Claire did this. Hours passed. Or maybe it was minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. My head throbbed. My wrists ached from the cuffs. And then, suddenly, the door creaked open again. I lifted my head, expecting the detective. But it wasn't him. It was Claire. She stepped inside with the grace of a queen walking into her throne room. Her hair was perfect, her clothes spotless, her perfume wrapping around me like poison. 2 officers escorted her, but she didn't look like a suspect. She looked like she owned the place. I shot up, rage flooding through me. You! I screamed, my voice raw. Tell them the truth. Tell them you gave me this dress. Tell them this is your doing. Claire's lips curved into that cruel smile. Oh, Rachel, she purred. You still don't get it, do you? The detective followed behind her, watching carefully. Miss Thomas, he said, thank you for coming. We just need a few clarifications. Claire sat across from me, folding her hands neatly on the table, her eyes never leaving mine. Of course, detective. I'll do anything to help. I laughed bitterly, hysterically. Help? You're the reason I'm here. Claire tilted her head, her smile widening. Detective, do you hear that? She's obsessed with me. She thinks I'm plotting against her. She's been unstable for months. My jaw dropped. What? That's not true. She's lying. The detective raised his hand sharply, silencing me. His eyes studied Claire carefully. Miss Thomas, We have Rachel's fingerprints at your sister's grave. And now another body has been found wearing that same dress. What do you know about it? Claire sighed, her expression sorrowful, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. Detective, Rachel has always been jealous of me. She used to say she wanted to be me. She even admitted she tried on Jessica's old clothes once. My heart stopped.
No.
That never happened. I slammed my fists on the table, the cuffs rattling like chains. She's twisting everything. Claire leaned closer, her eyes locking with mine. Tell them, Rachel. Tell them how you wanted my life. Tell them how you wanted to replace Jessica. That's why you wore her dress, isn't it? Her words stabbed deeper than knives. I felt the detective's gaze shift between us. His doubt grew heavier, pressing against me like a verdict waiting to be spoken. I shook my head wildly, tears spilling down my cheeks. Detective, please, you have to see what she's doing. She's manipulating all of you. She wants me destroyed because... The door suddenly burst open. Another officer stormed in, his face pale, his voice breathless. Detective, we just got a call from the coroner. The detective frowned. What is it? The officer swallowed hard, his voice shaking. The second body we found tonight, it's gone. Vanished from the morgue. Just like Jessica's did 2 years ago. The room fell silent. My blood ran cold. Claire's lips twitched upward, just slightly, as though this was the moment she had been waiting for. The detective's eyes darted back to me, suspicion burning hotter than ever. Then slowly he turned to Claire. And Claire whispered, her voice soft but sharp enough to slice through the silence. Maybe Rachel's not just wearing the dress, detective. Maybe she's cursed by it. The detective froze. The officers shifted uneasily. My heart hammered in my chest. And then the lights in the interrogation room flickered. Once, twice, before the entire station plunged into complete, suffocating darkness. The room went black. I couldn't see a thing. Only the sound of my own ragged breathing and the frantic shuffle of feet in the darkness. Someone cursed. Someone else whispered, "What the hell is happening?" The air turned heavy, suffocating. My heart pounded so loudly I thought everyone could hear it. Then came the sound. A faint rustle. A swish, like fabric brushing against the floor. And then a woman's laugh. Soft, distant, and chilling. I froze. That voice didn't belong to anyone in the room. "Who's there?" the detective barked, his voice sharp, though I could hear the edge of fear beneath it. No one answered. But the laugh came again, closer this time. Cold sweat trickled down my spine. My wrists ached in the cuffs, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with terror. The lights flickered once, twice, and then snapped back on. And that's when the screaming started. One of the officers was on the ground, clawing at his throat. His eyes bulged in horror. The other officer tried to pull him up, but his body went limp, dead in seconds. Blood pooled beneath him. Claire gasped, her hand covering her mouth, her face pale with terror. But her eyes, oh God, her eyes, glimmered with something else. Excitement. Satisfaction. The detective drew his gun, spinning around the room. "Nobody move," he shouted. His voice cracked. I was shaking uncontrollably. "Detective, please, you have to believe me now. Don't you see?
It's not me.
It's the dress. It's cursed." He turned to me, his gun still raised. "Shut up, Rachel. Don't play games with me." But then his gaze dropped to my dress, and his face twisted in horror. The sapphire blue velvet shimmered strangely under the fluorescent light, darker now, almost wet. I looked down and realized with a scream that red stains, fresh blood, were spreading across the fabric, dripping down to the floor. My stomach heaved. I gagged.
No.
"It's not me. I swear it's not me." Claire stood slowly, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She tilted her head, her voice calm, almost serene. "Detective, don't you get it? This dress takes lives. It feeds on them. And poor Rachel here," she glanced at me with cruel delight, "is just its puppet." I shook my head violently.
No.
"She's lying. She's the one who gave me this. She's the one who planned all of this. But the detective's face was unreadable now. He was torn between fear and suspicion. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the laugh returned, louder this time, echoing off the walls. I turned toward the sound, and nearly fainted. In the far corner of the room, a figure stood. A woman. Pale, hollow-eyed, her hair tangled, her lips curled into a broken smile. Her dress, identical to mine, was soaked in blood. Jessica. Claire's dead sister. I stumbled back, my scream tearing from my throat. The officers gasped. The detective's gun wavered in his hand. Jessica's ghostly figure stepped forward, her feet leaving no sound on the floor. Her eyes locked on mine. "Give it back," she whispered, her voice rattling like broken glass. "Give me back my dress." I shook my head, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't take it from you. I swear. I didn't know." Her eyes darkened, her face twisting with rage. "Liar." The lights shattered above us, plunging the station into chaos again. Glass rained down like sharp stars. The detective fired blindly into the darkness. Claire screamed. Officers shouted. And through it all, Jessica's shriek ripped through the air. High, piercing, unnatural. The next thing I knew, icy fingers closed around my throat. Invisible, crushing, choking. I clawed at my neck, gasping, my lungs burning for air. "Rachel," the detective shouted, his voice panicked. "What's happening?" But I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. Through the haze, I saw Claire standing there, calm as ever, her lips curling into that same cruel smile. She didn't look afraid. She looked victorious. And then Jessica's whisper filled my ear, cold and final. "You don't deserve to live in my dress." My body went limp. The world dimmed. Darkness swallowed me whole. When I woke, I wasn't in the interrogation room anymore. I was lying in a courtroom, handcuffed, shackled, surrounded by people staring at me like I was the devil herself. And the judge's gavel slammed down with a sound that shattered what little hope I had left. "Rachel Miller," the judge's voice boomed, "you stand accused of 2 murders, grave desecration, and attempted assault. How do you plead?" My throat was dry. My lips trembled. But before I could speak, Claire rose from the witness stand, her eyes meeting mine, her smirk sharper than ever. And she said, "She pleads guilty, Your Honor." The judge's gavel still echoed in my ears, her words twisting through my bones like poison. "She pleads guilty, Your Honor." I whipped my head toward Claire, my voice breaking.
No.
"That's a lie."
I didn't say that.
The courtroom erupted with murmurs, whispers, gasps. The judge slammed the gavel again. "Order. Order in this court." Claire sat smugly at the witness stand, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Her performance was flawless. The grieving sister, testifying against the unstable woman who had supposedly killed her sibling. The audience devoured every word, nodding in sympathy. And me? I was the monster. The cursed woman in the blue velvet dress. The prosecutor stood, his voice booming. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what more proof do we need?" The accused was found wearing the dress of the victim. Her fingerprints were at the grave. Another woman turned up dead in the same dress, and now, bodies are disappearing from the morgue. This is not coincidence. This is evil. And Rachel Miller is at the center of it. My lawyer, an overworked, underpaid man who barely looked at me, stood half-heartedly. My client pleads innocence." I wanted to scream, to rip the dress from my body, to tear it apart with my bare hands. But it clung to me like skin. I pulled at the fabric until my nails broke, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if the dress itself wanted me bound, guilty, condemned. The judge's voice thundered again. "The jury will now deliberate." But before the jury could even stand, the lights flickered. A cold wind swept through the courtroom. Papers flew, candles snuffed, and suddenly, that laugh, the laugh I'd heard in the interrogation room, echoed again. The crowd gasped. Some screamed. Others prayed aloud. And then she appeared. Jessica. Her pale, hollow-eyed figure drifted down the aisle, blood dripping from her dress, her hair wild, her smile broken. The jurors froze in terror. The bailiffs backed away. Claire's face went white. For the first time, her smirk faltered. Jessica's ghost pointed a trembling finger at me. Where's my dress? The crowd gasped louder. The judge banged the gavel furiously, shouting, "What is this madness?" But Jessica's head turned,
Slowly.
toward Claire. Her hollow eyes narrowed. Her lips curled into a snarl. "Sister?" The room fell silent. Claire's hands trembled. No, this isn't real. You're dead. You're supposed to be dead." Jessica's voice cracked through the courtroom like shattered glass. "You killed me, Claire." The air turned icy.
People gasped.
Claire stumbled to her feet, shaking her head. No, that's not true. It was an accident. You don't understand." The crowd erupted. The jury leaned forward. The judge shouted for order, but no one listened. Jessica floated closer, her voice echoing. "You pushed me. You watched me bleed. And then you dressed me in this," her eyes darted to me, "and buried me." Claire screamed. Shut up. She deserved it. She took everything from me. She was the perfect one, the favorite. Nobody saw me. Nobody loved me." Her voice cracked into sobs. "So, yes, I killed her. I made it look like Rachel. I wanted Rachel to suffer the way I suffered." The courtroom erupted in chaos. The jury shouted, the crowd wailed, the judge screamed for silence. But the truth was out. Jessica's spirit turned toward me. Her hollow eyes softened, just slightly. "You are free," she whispered. And then she lunged, straight at Claire. Claire's scream ripped through the courtroom as Jessica's pale hands wrapped around her throat. The two sisters crashed to the floor, thrashing, shrieking, one alive, one dead, locked in a battle fueled by years of hate. The lights flickered violently. The walls shook. And then, with one final, piercing scream, both sisters vanished, leaving only the sapphire blue dress crumpled on the floor. The fabric shimmered once, then turned to ash. Silence swallowed the courtroom. Everyone stared at the pile of ashes, trembling, speechless. The judge, pale and shaking, cleared her throat. "Case dismissed." The cuffs around my wrists fell open with a metallic click. I stood there, trembling, free, but broken. I walked out of that courtroom with nothing. No Claire. No Jessica. No answers. Just scars. The world moved on. The story hit the news. The cursed dress trial, they called it. People whispered my name like I was both victim and villain. But late at night, when the world is silent, sometimes I still hear it. A laugh.
Soft. Distant.
And I wonder, was it really over?